10 Secrets Behind the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Secret 1. The real Fresh Prince was not Will Smith. A lot of viewers assume the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was simply based on Will Smith's real life, but the original idea came from music executive Benny Medina. Medina's own story was about moving between poverty and privilege, and that became the emotional seed of the sitcom. The biggest creative twist was that the rich family was not written as a white family. The Banks family became wealthy, educated, successful, and black, which made the show far more interesting than a simple poor kid enters rich world comedy. Suddenly, the conflict was not only about race, but also about class inside Black America. The show could explore street culture, elite respectability, family pressure, success, shame, and identity without ever turning into a heavy drama. That is why the premise still feels powerful. Behind the jokes and the famous theme song was a much deeper question. What happens when two very different versions of black life are forced to live under one roof? Secret 2. Aunt Viv's replacement was not just a normal recast. One of the most famous behind-the-scenes controversies in sitcom history happened when Janet Hubert, the original Aunt Viv, disappeared after Season 3. In Season 4, Daphne Maxwell Reid stepped into the role, and the show continued like nothing had happened. But fans immediately noticed. This was not a small background character. Aunt Viv was one of the strongest figures in the Banks family. Elegant, intelligent, strict, funny, and emotionally powerful. Behind the recast was a complicated breakdown involving contracts, workplace tension, pregnancy, personal struggles, and a growing public feud. Hubert later said the new contract would have limited her ability to work elsewhere and reduced her role, while others described her as difficult on set. For years, the story became a mystery fans argued about. The secret is that one of TV's warmest family sitcoms had a very real fracture behind the scenes, and the change was so visible that the audience could feel something had gone wrong even without knowing the details. Secret 3. The Aunt Viv feud lasted almost 30 years. The conflict around Janet Hubert did not end when she left the show. It followed the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for decades. Hubert publicly criticized the way she was treated, while old interviews and rumors kept the feud alive. For many fans, the two Aunt Vivs became one of the biggest unanswered questions in the entire series. The painful part is that the show was about family, forgiveness, and understanding. But behind the scenes, one member of that television family felt pushed out and isolated. During the 30th anniversary reunion, Hubert finally sat down for a serious conversation about what happened. She explained that she had been pregnant, dealing with a difficult marriage, and felt alone during the conflict. The reunion turned a long-running Hollywood feud into an emotional public reckoning. The secret is that this was not just gossip about a recast. It was a decades-long wound that changed how people looked at the show and reminded fans that even a beloved sitcom can hide real pain behind the laughter. Secret 4. The Carlton dance became a legal problem decades later. The Carlton dance started as a ridiculous character moment, but it became one of the most famous dances in television history. Alfonso Ribeiro later explained that he created the dance himself, drawing inspiration from Courtney Cox dancing in Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark video, and old comedy ideas about awkward dancing. It was supposed to be goofy, not historic. But Carlton's strange, stiff, overexcited dance became instantly recognizable, almost like a second theme song for the character. Decades later, the dance entered a completely different world: video games and copyright lawsuits. Ribeiro sued companies connected to popular game emotes, arguing that versions of his dance had been used without permission. The legal fight became complicated because short dance moves are difficult to own under copyright law, and his attempt to register the dance was rejected. The secret is that a silly sitcom gag turned into a serious question about who owns viral movement, especially when pop culture starts making money from it. Secret 5. Carlton may have trapped Alfonso Ribeiro's career. Carlton Banks made Alfonso Ribeiro unforgettable, but the role also became a professional cage. Carlton was so specific: the preppy clothes, the nervous confidence, the Tom Jones obsession, the dramatic reactions, and of course the dance, that audiences had trouble separating the actor from the character. Ribeiro later spoke about how playing Carlton was both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, he became part of television history. On the other hand, Hollywood often could not imagine him as anyone else. That is the dark side of a perfect sitcom performance. If a role is too good, it can freeze an actor in one image forever. Carlton gave Ribeiro immortality, but it also made it harder for him to escape into other roles. The secret is that one of the funniest characters in The Fresh Prince carried a heavy price in real life. Fans loved Carlton, but the industry often reduced Ribeiro to that one brilliant, awkward dancing personality. Secret 6. Jazz being thrown out was often the same reused shot. One of the funniest running jokes in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was Uncle Phil throwing Jazz out of the house. It happened so many times that it became one of the show's signature visual gags. But the secret is that the production often reused the same footage. DJ Jazzy Jeff would wear the same patterned shirt, so the editors could cut back to the classic shot of Jazz flying through the front door again and again. That is why the gag feels so strangely familiar every time. It was not always a brand new stunt. It was a clever sitcom shortcut that turned a budget-friendly editing trick into a legendary joke. Instead of making the repetition feel lazy, the show made it part of the comedy. The audience started waiting for it. The second Jazz pushed Uncle Phil too far, fans knew what was coming. The secret is that one of the most iconic physical jokes in the series was built from repetition, editing, and one perfectly reusable throw. Secret 7. Jeffrey was played by a serious Shakespearean actor. Jeffrey Butler was one of the sharpest characters on the show, but many casual viewers did not realize how serious Joseph Marcel's acting background was. Before and after The Fresh Prince, Marcel was deeply connected to theater and Shakespeare. That classical training explains why Jeffrey's humor worked so well. He was not loud. He did not need to chase jokes. He could destroy someone with one calm line, one raised eyebrow, or one perfectly dry British insult. In a house full of big personalities, Jeffrey was the quiet weapon. The secret is that the Banks family's sarcastic butler was not just a sitcom side character. He was played by an actor with the control and timing of a stage performer. That made Jeffrey feel different from everyone else. He could stand next to Will, Carlton, Hillary, or Uncle Phil and still steal the moment without moving much at all. His elegance made the insults sharper, and his restraint made the comedy hit harder. Secret 8. Ashley grew up on camera, and it was a real learning curve. Tatiana Ali was only a child when she began playing Ashley Banks, which means the audience watched her grow up in real time. That sounds charming, but it also meant she had to learn comedy, timing, confidence, and public attention while millions of people were watching. Ali later described the show as a serious learning environment. She had to adapt quickly to sitcom performance, live audience energy, rehearsals, music guests, and the rhythm of older actors around her. Ashley's growth on the show was not just scripted, it mirrored a young performer finding her voice. The character went from the youngest child in the Banks house to a teenager with her own opinions, style, and even musical ambitions. The secret is that Ashley's coming-of-age story was also Tatiana Ali's professional coming-of-age. While the audience saw a funny TV daughter, the actress was learning how to survive inside one of the biggest sitcom machines of the 1990s. Secret 9. Hillary Banks quietly crossed into other shows. Hillary Banks was not just a funny, spoiled rich girl inside The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Karen Parsons made the character so memorable that Hillary became recognizable enough to appear outside her own show. The character crossed over into other television series, including Blossom and Out All Night, which made her part of a wider NBC sitcom world. That is a strange but interesting piece of 90s TV history. Hillary was not the main character of Fresh Prince, but her personality was strong enough to travel. Her vanity, confidence, cluelessness, and strange charm made her instantly usable in another sitcom setting. The secret is that Hillary became more than just Will's rich cousin. She became a pop culture type, the glamorous, self-absorbed, hilarious rich girl who somehow remained lovable. Those crossover appearances show how valuable the character was. In a cast full of loud personalities, Hillary still carved out a space that was completely her own. Secret 10. James Avery's death changed the future of the franchise. Uncle Phil was the moral center of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. James Avery gave the character authority, warmth, anger, patience, and emotional weight. He could be terrifying in one scene and deeply loving in the next. That is why his death in 2013 changed how fans and cast members looked at the idea of any true return. A reunion without Uncle Phil could never feel complete because he was not just another character. He was the father figure holding the Banks family together. During cast reunions, his absence became one of the most emotional parts of the show's legacy. The secret is that The Fresh Prince was not built only around jokes or the famous theme song. It worked because Uncle Phil made the family feel real. Without James Avery, a full original revival could never have the same heart. The show could be remembered, celebrated, or reimagined, but the original emotional center was gone.